2, 1.
Bonjour tout le monde. Today we're going to talk about le passé composé with être. So we already know that the passé composé has two parts. We have our auxiliaire, which can be either the verb avoir or être, and we have our participe passé. So to this point, we've only done verbs that use avoir as the auxiliaire. Well, now we're going to learn about verbs that will use être as the auxiliaire. So there are two times when you use être as the auxiliaire. First, there's a set of 17 verbs. These 17 verbs will always use être as their auxiliaire, no matter what past tense we're using. These are called Van der Tramp verbs, and they're called that because there's an easy little acronym that you can use to remember all of the different verbs that are considered Van der Tramps. They're considered the ones that will use être as the auxiliaire. For example, we have venir, aller, naître, descendre. There's 17 of them, and we'll go over those in just a minute. Then our Verbes Réfléchis will also use être as the auxiliaire. So any of those verbs that start out with a se in their infinitive. So you'll see for our examples, Nathan est tombé de son vélo. Right here, tomber is actually a Van der Tramp verb. It's the T in Van der Tramp. And then for our reflexive, we have tu t'es lavé le visage. You washed your face. Because it's a reflexive verb, we need our reflexive pronoun. Then we'll have our auxiliaire and our participe passé, and that makes it in the past tense. Now here is our list of Van der Tramp verbs. Okay, you'll see they start out with these letters: D-R, M-R-S, V-A-N, D-E-R, T-R-A-M-P-P. Okay, devenir, revenir, monter, rentrer, sortir, venir, arriver, naître, descendre, entrer, retourner, tomber, rester, aller, mourir, partir, and passer. You definitely want all of these verbs in your notes because these are the ones that will use être as the auxiliaire. So we've learned a lot of the definitions for some of these. So devenir and revenir, we already learned, are to become and to come back. Monter, if you think about mounting a horse, you go up, you climb. Rentrer is like entrer, to enter, but to re-enter. Sortir is to go out. We say this when I say sortir une feuille de papier. Venir, we already learned, is to come. Arriver, to arrive, which is a clear cognate. Naître, which means to be born. Descendre means to descend or to go down. Entrer means to enter. Retourner means to return, so when you're returning to a location. Tomber means to fall. Rester means to stay, if you think about resting in a place or staying there. Aller, we've already learned, means to go. Mourir means to die. Think of things being morbid, mourir. And then partir is to leave, to depart. And passer is to go by. And here you'll see are all the past participles of the Dr. and Mrs. Van der Tramp verbs. You'll see devenir, revenir, venu, né, and mourir are all irregular. So make sure you mark those. Then we have our Verbes Réfléchis. If you remember, these are the verbs starting with se in their infinitive. Some examples: elle s'est lavé le visage. Nous nous sommes endormis. Je me suis levée à 8h. She washed her face. We fell asleep. I woke up at 8 o'clock. So you'll see for all of these reflexive verbs, because they're reflexive, you need to change your se to the appropriate subject or reflexive pronoun according to the subject. So we have elle, se, nous, je, me. And then to make it in the past tense, you need your conjugation of être, right here for your auxiliaire. And then your past participle, laver, endormi, and lever. Now, the other special rule about our Van der Tramp verbs and our reflexive verbs using être as their auxiliaire is that you have to actually make agreement between the past participle and the subject of the verb. So you're basically looking at the past participle as an adjective. For example, we have elle s'est lavé le visage. Right here, elle is our subject, and elle is singular and plural. So we need to make sure that because we used être as the auxiliaire, our participe passé has to be feminine and singular, just like elle is feminine and singular. So I add an extra e. Now, if we had something plural, you would also add an s. So if it's feminine singular, only add an e. If it's singular masculine, only add an S. And if it's feminine and plural, if it's plural masculine, add an S. If it's feminine and plural, add an ES. All right, now for your à bouffer, take all of these verbs in the parentheses and conjugate them according to this subject. Make sure you pay attention to your auxiliaire. If this is a Van der Tramp verb or a reflexive verb, then you're going to use être as your auxiliaire. Also pay attention to if the verb has an irregular participe passé. Bring those in to class tomorrow. À bientôt.